For many years, I've suspected that there is something fundamentally wrong with my YouTube channel, some unseen force that sets its will against me, and I think I finally figured out why. Back in February, I made a promise to you guys that I would give Zorpazorp at least one more year, one final chance before calling it quits. 8 months down the track through this big year of change, and so I've come back out here to Mount Sunday, the filming location for Edoras, to give you guys a progress status report on what's working, what's not working, and what parts of Zorpazorp have been killed off forever. Back in February, I talked about how my content is so intensely labor intensive. It might take me 2 or 3 80-hour weeks to make a video where other creators can knock one out in 2 or 3 days. Because of that, I really only break even, as in don't lose money, when a video gets 100,000 views. If it gets 70, I can sort of cop it, take it on the chin, but anything less than that and it's an unmitigated financial disaster. In the 12 months leading up to the February video, I hit 100K 5 times. I've already hit 100K 5 times since then, but it's been out of 14 videos, so more than half the time the channel was running at a loss. So improvement, yes, but is it enough? Maybe, maybe not. So let's drill down together on what I'm doing right. The first big positive has been a change to my upload schedule. I've come back to 2 videos a month, but they come out every fortnight on Friday evening New Zealand time, and you guys have absolutely loved that kind of consistency, that expectation. There's always a new Zorpazorp video when you think it's gonna be there. Here on Zorpazorp, I make massive dioramas. Instead of leveling up the whole board a little bit at a time, we've kind of decided together that by focusing on chunks and getting them to a more completed state, it makes a much more enjoyable and satisfying viewership experience for you guys. And that is what this is all about. I have to earn your views. I'm not entitled to them. The third big positive change of this year has been a real shift in priorities. Before we moved here to New Zealand, 70% of my family's livelihood came from Zorpazorp.com. When that collapsed, my Patreons and channel members saved me. And so I have just been focusing intensely on those guys. We've got this amazing Discord where all of the folks get input on builds. I hold polls to help me decide on different parts of the dioramas. I'm posting weekly vlogs to Patreon itself, which has just been intensely rewarding. And as you'll see a little bit later in this video, I'm beginning to incorporate the Patreons and the channel members into the builds themselves, which is just going to be super awesome. So stick around for that. So that's all the stuff that's been working. Sadly though, there is still one big issue that has been holding back Zorpazorp for a long time. Audience fragmentation. 3 or 4 years ago, my content used to be incredibly varied. I made painting tutorials, battle reports, and scenery guides for 3 different games: Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and the Warhammer universe. And that is awful content strategy because you've got 9 different audiences. People who are watching a how to paint Necrons tutorial don't usually want to watch a Lord of the Rings battle report. And to make matters worse, if a viewer doesn't click on a couple of your videos, YouTube won't recommend any of your future content to them for months. So I made a change, and last year, starting with Dawn of War, I launched 2 new YouTube channels, ZorpHammer and Zorp of the Rings, dedicated to the gaming aspects of Zorpazorp. I've stripped all the gaming content out. Zorpazorp is just crafting. Surely my problems with audience fragmentation are over. Enter the Imperial Palace on Terra. This series of crafting videos has been absolutely huge. It helped dig Zorpazorp out of an 8-month-long rut and woke the channel back up again, and I'm incredibly grateful to everyone who's been watching that series, but it did have one unexpected consequence. I now have 2 very distinct audience fragments: Middle-earth viewers and Warhammer or Imperial Palace viewers, and there is a hell of a lot less overlap in those 2 metrics than I thought. And every time I make a run of videos in one of those universes and then pivot back to the other one, a lot of my recent core audience don't click, and then YouTube buries it. So at the moment I'm trapped in this cycle where I spend a bunch of time rebuilding the views and getting the channel to a functioning state, and then I pivot to the other audience and all of my content absolutely dies. I will never abandon Middle-earth. It's the whole reason I moved to Aotearoa. In fact, there is a monster arc of Middle-earth content coming up through Christmas to tie in with the new glorious Lord of the Rings Warhammer edition, and I love the Imperial Palace as well. So this is just a massive challenge for me. In the next 6 months, I need to find a way to get these 2 types of crafting videos working together in harmony on Zorpazorp, because at the moment, they're destroying attacking each other, which is slowly but surely killing the entire channel. So something has to change, but we're not going to be able to fix this channel out here in the middle of the New Zealand wilderness. So let's jump in the car, get back to Zorpazorp HQ, and find a way to build prosperity for Zorpazorp long into the future. Back in February, we made some modifications to this space to optimize the efficiency of my output by like 5 to 10%. The projects have kind of gotten so massive in the last 6 months that all of those spatial optimizations have basically been undone. We need to get that efficiency back. It is so essential to keeping the Zorpazorp train on the tracks. But before we can go adding in sexy cinematic backdrops and lighting and diorama display cases, we need to get logistics down, and ladies and gentlemen, that means shelving. Now, while Timelapse Lockie starts to organize the studio, this whole optimization process isn't just about logistics. I also want this space looking as epic as possible for you guys. So once again, I reached out to Displate, who sent 4 absolutely gorgeous, one-of-a-kind metal posters to my doorstep within 5 business days. Displate is also celebrating Warhammer Day, first up with this stunning 3-piece set featuring Titus and his Ultramarine squad mowing through the Tyranid hordes. This is the official Space Marine 2 art on metal, and it looks incredible, especially in this large size on Displate's new textured metal posters called Textra. Displates have a unique, safe, easy magnet mounting system which is super easy to install, but because they are metal, I had an even cooler idea and mounted them directly to my garage door on the front of the studio. Displate have just launched a brand new Space Marine 2 collection, as well as a whole heap of timeless classics, including this awesome exclusive Warhammer drop that's only available until October 20th, so if you want this beast on your wall, you better hurry. Like I said in the intro, the views across the channel have been dropping, which means that sponsors evaporate. So to have Displate agree to come on board for this video when I ask them means a huge amount. So if you want to support Zorpazorp and get some banging Warhammer wall art at the same time, use my link in the description or code Zorpazorp. You'll get 27% off 1 to 2 Displates or 33% off 3 or more. How fire does the studio look now? But this isn't just about looking good, we need to get this studio operational. First up, the studio is in a bloody state, so cleaning time. I packed down the Minas Tirith courtyard board onto its designated shelf on the first set of shelves I built a few months back, and then collapsed my trestle tables to give me some room to pile up all of the massive chunks of the Imperial Palace. I freed up a bunch of space in the workshop by collating all of my various bits boxes into 3 massive tubs that slide perfectly under the first shelf, and then we finally got enough room to start our new storage solutions in earnest. Massive boards means massive shelves, and these big long span aluminium shelves are just fantastic for our needs. I've already got 2 back to back on the right, so I picked up another 2 for the left side of the garage, which doubles our storage and also creates this kind of false wall of scenery storage goodness with a nice little walkway through the middle. With this second shelf assembly, I've got the gap below the lowest shelf the perfect height for all of the Imperial Palace trenches to store away nicely. Then the rest fits comfortably on the very top shelf stacked up into the roof cavity, and then that leaves the rest of the shelves for my foam sheeting. Now the shelves might be amazing for storage, but they look awful for a backdrop in videos, so I picked up some new black heavy curtains so that I could stop stealing the curtains out of my house and mounted them onto the rafter closest to the shelving. Once installed, this helps immensely for backdrops to neaten up certain shots, but it also helps with soundproofing. They're nice big thick deadening curtains, and it just helps keep the studio really organized in general. Then I finally decided to install some more lighting. With the Imperial Palace and my other megaboards just being so damn big, it's actually quite difficult to keep every side of the build well lit, so I added another 3 fluoros to get some really nice coverage, some up in the roof battens and 1 above the garage door, and also it helps getting such bad eye strain from working in badly lit conditions. So the studio is looking awesome. We've got our curtains in, all our lighting in. I've even done a mock-up of the Imperial Imperial Palace's position, it can really only fit in one spot because it's so damn tall. And before I build any more of our kind of cinematic backdrops for the palace, I need somewhere to store the armies of Zorpazorp. So I need a kind of big, sexy diorama display case for the troops that are going to battle over all of my mega boards.
Now, display cabinets are mental expensive here in New Zealand. We don't even have IKEA for the classic option, so I'm going to build it myself using some steel shelving and then magnets to hold clear acrylic panels to seal all of my miniatures in. I knocked up the main frame of the shelves and then decided that 4 shelves will give me space for different themes. One for maybe Mark of Kelth, or one for the Siege of Terror, then maybe a whole shelf for Middle-earth, and one for Dawn of War. I grabbed my Warlord Titan and used him to make sure the top shelf was high enough for the Kelth diorama, and then assembled the rest in place. Then of course we need some lighting. I weaved a bunch of LED stripping through the shelves, mounting it up to the inner side of the shelving, using magnets to actually just pin it in place against the steel, and I'm mega happy with how these are working. The next stage is going to be to build some crazy bespoke dioramas for all the little armies, but I think I'm going to make that like its own video for you guys. I think it'll be a really cool journey, so comment down below if you've got any suggestions or ideas for little scenes or little worlds to fill out the cabinet.
So as I've been banging on about, my Patreons and YouTube channel members are just everything, and I've been kind of humming on this idea on how to incorporate them into the builds to sort of honor their contribution to Zorpazorp, and the idea has snowballed massively. I am going to permanently modify the studio wall to build a shrine to their awesomeness.
By building the next section of the Imperial Palace directly into the wood and steel frame on this side of the garage, I can build a permanent section of the palace that the main palace build joins onto, that I can also adorn with banners and statues to honor my Patreons. But to make the Imperial Palace integrate better with this new section of upper palace wall, first the whole build needed to spin around, and then I needed to move the Middle-earth hex map. The space to the right of our display cabinets was the perfect spot, but it meant my recycled timber shelving had finally reached the end of its usefulness. So they went off to the garden shed for storing seedlings, and the map went up in their place.
So the map is looking awesome, but now it's time to jump over here. And now I'm thinking that I'm going to have this portion here that's directly behind the palace themed to the Imperial Palace for our Patreon honor wall, but maybe over on this side I could also have some that is inspired by Minas Tirith to kind of pay homage to the 2 Zorpazorp megaboards.
Our first job is some massive foam panels to become our brickwork, which I'm actually making out of 2 sheets, some hard-skinned 25mm for strength, and a layer of 10mm to be the stonework itself, which just takes the texture beautifully. And then we're carving an absolute boatload of brickwork matching our Imperial Palace style. Same old Zorpazorp foamwork techniques here: knife, pencil, foily, bricky, kaboom. Then it was time to test this whole crazy theory and slot the panel into the cavity between the wooden framing, and bam! The garage wall is gone. The next 2 wall panels are smaller sized and need to cover the window panes to the right of the main wall that I've been blocking out with acoustic foam, so I cut and textured another 2 and fitted them into the window. Then after a quick prime with the spray gun and rattle cans while the panels were still removable, it was time to begin building up our detailing and hiding these pesky wooden beams. The vertical beams were the first target, which I lined with 10mm and 20mm sheet to turn them from wooden beams to Imperial Palace stone column. Then the horizontal noggin got hidden behind a thick chunk of 40mm foam with a lovely chamfer, just like some of the other horizontal brick detailing in the Imperial Palace. With the core structure in place, I then began just layering in a bucket load of details, various stonework trim and edging to build texture and form that all ties back to the palace megaboard, even adding a top plinth to cap off the upper battlement and extending the wall down to the height of the main gate so the main board will actually fit flush up against this display. Then the final element was the all-important Megazorptron shelf, which is where all the little statues dedicated to my Megazorps will be dressed in. This got a bunch of special treatment with some really nice stone detailing.
So this Imperial Palace Patreon honor wall is really starting to come together. Over this side, we're gonna have all of the banners for just every Patreon so that everyone gets their name on the honor wall. as a part of the Imperial Palace mega build. Then I've got these other two zones. One's going to be focused on my super duper Zorptrons, and then this massive slate over here is for all of the mega Zorptrons, including this gorgeous little shelf, which is the beginning of the Patreon statue. So all of the mega Zorps are going to get a statue representing each of them with printed nameplates and kind of just a bit of extra excitement. They get to choose what material the statue gets painted up out of, gold or marble or stone, and they get to choose what the model is. They get to kind of go through my bits box basically and pick out some sort of Space Marine. Could be 40k, could be 30k, Terminator, Devastator, I don't know, whatever we can find in the bits box. Every Patreon is about to become part of the Imperial Palace mega build. And then if this all works quite nicely, I'm going to do the same thing for Minas Tirith somewhere else in the workshop. But for now, let's get some paint on this big boy.
Over the next month, I'm going to be hand making all the gorgeous Patreon banners, which I'll then update every couple of months with the names of new patrons and channel members. And of course, adding in all the statues for the Mega Zorptrons, as well as a whole bunch of extra gold Imperial Palace details and heraldry to really make this tribute to the Patreons and the Imperial Palace mega board absolutely sing. And if you'd like to get your name on a banner, or hell, even your own statue, go and check out Patreon, link down below, and help keep Zorpazorp alive. It would mean the world to me to have you join my little family of hobby heroes.
So I made all these changes about a month ago, and I've already filmed the first Imperial Palace battle report here in the new studio setup over on ZorpHammer, and it worked really well. But I've made a bit of a discovery on the audience fragmentation side of things. I first worked out this was a big problem earlier in the year when I had this run of really nicely working Imperial Palace videos, and then I tried to switch to Middle-earth and it just absolutely tanked. And then out of nowhere, the Imperial Palace views collapsed. At the time, I thought maybe folks are just bored, they've seen a lot out of it, maybe I wasn't innovating enough, but I just worked out what happened. In June, I had a short go viral. It was an old Middle-earth short from like 6 months before, and it went out to a really wide audience. And then when I put the next Imperial Palace video out, instead of it being recommended to you guys, the core audience who've been watching the Imperial Palace, it got recommended to all these new random viewers who'd seen the short. None of them clicked on it. They're like, what the hell is this? And then the algorithm buries the videos. I worked out that after that short went viral, I had like 4 more Imperial Palace videos, and I lost about 250,000 views over those 4 videos, which is just brutal. And the shorts make you nothing. That's nearly on 1 million now, and I think it's made like $20 New Zealand. They do not make money. The sole purpose of shorts is to capture new viewers in the shorts feed and bring them to your channel so you can serve them your normal videos. That's exactly what happened here, and it worked against me. It genuinely feels like sometimes this whole system is conspiring against you. What the hell are we gonna do about it? Well, I don't know if I have a plan or a solution, but I've got an idea that I think we can try. Because of my fragmented audiences, I can't bounce back and forth between Middle-earth and Warhammer every single video. So my new strategy is to make content in blocks, a short burst of videos on one and then pivoting back to the other. But the first video in every new block needs to have a really broad premise that sweeps up most of my audience, and then hopefully that way YouTube will be able to work out who to show which stream of content to. And that way, whether you like Warhammer content or Middle-earth, I should be able to keep you happy. But it'd be real good if you liked both. Just in case this is all about to come to an end when we hit that February deadline next year, I'm gonna make sure we have a monster Christmas. I've got something like 30 videos rolling out across all 3 of the channels. We've got a brand new edition of Lord of the Rings Warhammer. That is gonna be huge here on Zorpazorp. This palace board is massive and it's only getting bigger. If you'd like to help keep Zorpazorp alive, join the Patreon family or grab yourself a displate from the link down below. Or if you can't contribute financially, the cost of living crisis is bloody real, then just the simple stuff, a like, a comment down below. What's your favorite video that I've ever made, or your favorite board? All of that stuff is mega helpful. So come with me and let's smash the next 6 months so hard that we finally show that YouTube algorithm that stupidly massive scenery is here to stay.